Is it paranoid to think filmmakers are literally trying to f with us with the length of these logos at this point? It's almost as if... Wait, what was that noise?
Born with extraordinary abilities.
Narration. And like most X-Men movies, this narration is rehashed, overly pompous, poetic meandering about genetic mutation.
Give someone wings and they may fly too close to the sun.
Give a movie narration and it may prematurely exposit all over itself. Also, the Icarus cliché. In the X-Men story, while someone might get wings, they still have to obey the laws of physics and are unable to fly too close to the sun like Icarus did. Allegory be damned. These mutants also have the ability to rewrite history, since the Egyptian pyramids weren't even started until 1,000 years after this. Hey, even though this is a sacred ceremony and you don't need to intimidate anyone, be sure to snarl so we can see how much of an evil bastard you are. Don't worry, it's a digital surgery scar. Those heal up in 2.8 gigahertz. While we watch the power of the sun infuse this pyramid with solar power through something that looks like an ancient oversized microchip that melts gold and raises the platforms, I realize it's probably best that I not try and figure out how this whole process is bull. This block takes out many other support beams that are roughly the same size, and not only never slows down, but actually gains speed. Oh, hi, Oscar Isaac. Guess this is the last time we'll be seeing you, eh? At least your real face, and voice, and non-verbal emoting. Luckily for Apocalypse and this movie, they dug the sub-basement of this pyramid all the way to hell. This icy mist is so effective at blocking heavy rocks, it actually makes me wonder why this wasn't done more often when they were above ground, getting hit by heavy rocks. Here's the animated title sequence, and oh look, Mona Lisa! Huh. Also, we interrupt this awkward segue from ancient Egypt to the 1980s to show you a sculpture of Jesus carrying a cross through a tunnel by candlelight. This is just someplace in Ohio. No need for specifics, just Ohioing it up in here. Are you f***ing kidding me here? This high school kid is going through mutant adolescence during a lecture on mutants? Do I have that right, you f***ing clowns?
Why don't you stop by the principal's office and explain to him that you're disrupting class again?
Jesus, lady, he just politely asked to go to the bathroom. It's not like he was smoking PCP during your bullshit mutant presentation. Scott's powerful laser eyes are no match for the integrity of a bathroom stall, which protects the bully somehow, but destroy everything else so that Scott can remain guiltless. Well, at least they aren't sexualizing Mystique in this movie. Also, this is 10 years later, right? Shouldn't she be close to turning into Rebecca Romaine by now? It is my belief that roughly 45% of the Marvel Universe have their origin stories rooted in fighting people in cage matches. Can someone tell me how Nightcrawler, A, got captured, and B, stayed captured? Also, wait, you're matching a teleporter up against a guy with wings? I know this is underground fighting and rules are not a concern, but this fight is the very definition of unfair, and anyone who blindly bet on Angel should be storming the betting windows after Nightcrawler wins easily. Also, I can see this is a cage with electric current running through it, but how is Nightcrawler not able to transport through it anyway? He can't just transport outside? Hang on, Mystique can impersonate anyone, but she uses her power to change clothes mid-scene? In case you confused it for Pruscow, Kentucky. There is no f***ing way Eric's been hiding out anywhere after the attack on Washington. That no one can recognize him is ludicrous to Superman Clark Kent levels. I mean, they teach about him in Ohio schools. No one will be seated during the Magneto has a happy marriage and a child who has befriended a f***ing deer and they all visit the well scene.
Where did you learn that song, Papa?
I learned it from my parents, and they learned it from their parents, and them from theirs.
Ladies and gentlemen, the X-Men.
And one day, you'll sing it to your children too.
Provided you don't get killed in a freak aero accident.
What's happened to them? Your parents?
Oh, they were horribly murdered in a concentration camp while I was tortured by Kevin Bacon, but that's a story for another night, darling. Now get some sleep. I've had just about enough of these glamour shots of this sign, thank you very much.
Let us now start fresh, without remembrance.
Ah, T.H. White. Yet again, Professor X is caught quoting classic literature, instead of teaching these kids about how to fight evil. But whatever, I guess poetry matters somehow. I mean, that is what the characters are going to think at the end of this movie after a global war with Apocalypse, no? What good is a school for mutants that just teaches them regular AP creative writing? Really, Mooney? You list Ohio in one location, East Berlin in another, but now it's the full Cairo, Egypt? Pick a goddamn format already. Jesus, we first saw Moira in X-Men First Class, which was set in 1962. She has no powers, but in 1983 she still looks the same as she did then. Even though this hole is partially blocked by carpets and an unconscious dude, the sun will still shine enough to make this pyramid thingy do its thing. How conveniently coincidental that you're here right now, thousands of years after this asshole was entombed, right as he's being resurrected, and you have X-Men ties. This is a whole bunch of discount Inner Earth Tron graphics that does not bring us any closer to understanding the bullshit contraption. And just before this f***er awakens, I'd like to remind the viewing audience that this superhero movie is entirely predicated on the idea of an ancient all-powerful god going to sleep long ago, and then waking up just as the producers of Days of Future Past were looking for sequel ideas. Rose Byrne is Lara Croft, X-Person. Because someone decided to wake up Apocalypse right now, an earthquake in Egypt was felt all the way to Germany and causes Eric to use his powers to save someone, outing him as a mutant. Okay, if it was that damn powerful, Egypt should be in ruins. Also, I'm no seismologist, but an earthquake felt all over the world would probably be kind of devastating to the entire world, right? How does a quake in Egypt register all over the world without kind of f***ing up the Earth's tectonic makeup in a much more permanent and we're all gonna die fashion?
No, you don't know what it's like to be afraid to shut your eyes, to be trapped inside your own head.
Gene says this to literally the only person in the world who does know exactly what this is like. Charles locates his ex-girlfriend halfway around the world, but somehow misses the most powerful mutant the world has ever known that is literally steps away from her.
She looks amazing. She's barely aged a day.
I know, right? That should raise some red flags of some kind.
I told you who I was the first night I met you. I trusted you then. I need you to trust me now.
Jesus, Eric told his girl he was one of the world's most dangerous fugitives on the first date, and she stuck with him? I guess the future Mrs. Lyncher had already seen shame. Ha-ha! We've somehow surreptitiously kidnapped your daughter and took her to this random place in the woods that we knew you'd find eventually. Premature arrowlation. Also, could this accidental arrowing actually happen? Possibly. Does it feel manufactured to make Eric angry at humans again? I think that's the sin here. Also, this arrow pierces both Nina and Magda, partly because life hates Eric more than any other person who ever lived, but also because either one of them continuing to live in this world means no Magneto. So these deaths are for your entertainment, assholes. Recently awoken all-powerful god wastes his first few hours wandering through an Egyptian farmer's market. Because he's so shocked at the advancement of society in his absence, he's unable to even remember this world domination plan, I guess. Luckily, young Storm just happens to be here to get caught shoplifting by Apocalypse, and she just happens to know where to take him when he saves her ass. Awesome trick that's never used again in this movie. Also, what the f*** is his power? I shall take the sand from a stone pillar and cut your necks with it. I'm making it up as I go along. Death by masonry osmosis.
I wiped her mind of all memories of us. The beach, Cuba.
Well, why the f*** did you do that?
I felt it was the best thing for her.
God damn it, more movie idiots trying to protect loved ones from emotional pain by lying to them.
We were hoping that you would tell us about what happened yesterday in Egypt.
Wait, that happened yesterday? It was daytime in Egypt and nighttime in New York when Moira found the ruins and Apocalypse woke up. In this case, she would have had to go immediately from the marketplace to an airport, fly 15 hours back to Washington, and get to the office in time for Charles's visit, instead of the screenwriters paying attention to the reality of time zones.
Ever since the world found out about mutants in 73, there have been cults who see them as some kind of second coming or sign of God. I was tracking one of them.
Because the CIA is most interested in using its money and resources to track down cults who think mutants are gods. Luckily, they sent me, the person who Charles fell in love with in first class.
They think he lived all that time?
Yes and no. They believe he had the ability to transfer his consciousness from body to body.
Deus exposition.
Like the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Wah f***ing wah. Also roll credits.
Great fighter. She's my hero. I want to be like her.
But you can't. She has transforming powers. You have the ability to control the weather. So you aren't and never can be like her. Learning from touching a TV in 1983? Sure, you can learn everything you ever need to know from that contraption. They're called learning electrons. And Apocalypse binge watches the historical documents of I Dream of Jeannie to learn about modern culture. We're sure to see lots of stuff about war here, because every supernatural being who learns about the world through speed reading or fifth elementing or how Lucy did it in that movie whose name I've forgotten, runs across copious amounts of war and almost zero porn.
Why can't I go with you?
Are these assholes still walking away from the underground cage match place? The f*** aren't they somewhere a story is taking place yet?
Psylocke gets a little jealous.
And that's all you'll ever hear or know about this character, basically.
How far can you cover?
As far as I can see, or if I've been there before.
But not if I'm in an electric cage. I cannot get past that because of electricity.
Sorry to break it to you, but you're not the biggest freak in the school.
And love. Cut!
Never thought I'd see you here again.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, it took $6 million and the promise of filming in Europe to convince me.
I want to set you free.
This is what Aaron Rodgers said to get her to go out with him, and is coincidentally the same thing he tells himself in the mirror before every football game.
I know the kind of mutants you're looking for, and I know where to find them.
How does the god Apocalypse need some non-god human mutant's help in finding the mutants he needs? Like, he totally doesn't, right?
The only thing American about this place is that it used to be British.
When did Scott become this guy? He gets a pair of shades that protect his eyes from blasting everything, and now he's an asshole. You'd think I'd knock off a sin for the movie using a deep-cut Metallica song, but when the song's as on the nose as the Four Horsemen, it gets a sin with no remorse. This is the guy they took Apocalypse to, even though they're very aware of more powerful mutants like Mystique, or Quicksilver, or Jean Grey, or really almost any other except for that little f***er who can blink and change the channel. He's got metal wings that throw knives. I guess his body constantly regenerates the amount of metal he needs to fly and fight at the same time? Who knows? It's cool, damn it. It is cool, right?
Who the f*** are you?
This movie gave Wolverine's line to Magneto, and this movie should be ashamed. This guy just litters body parts wherever he goes. I'd like to know why his power leaves certain things intact. Is it because it looks awesome in a movie?
Come and see.
And that is all it takes for super independent Eric to just go along. Come and see. Jesus, if only Charles had known all these years that this was the magic phrase to get Eric to listen to your argument.
This is where your power was born.
No. His power was born when he was because it's genetic. You mean to say this is where your power was awakened by Kevin Bacon, I think. Did we really need to go back to Auschwitz to turn Eric to the dark side? Didn't the loss of his new family already do that? I feel like this is already embedded motivation in the first place. We know this story already. We've got to spend time in a 2.5-hour movie rehashing it. I'm no heavy flying rocks and debris expert, but this appears to be a dangerous place to be for anyone who isn't immortal right now.
What's up? Just checking on you. I'm good, playing Pac-Man.
You are clearly playing Ms. Pac-Man. Not the same at all.
I've read so much about this place.
Moira is working on one of the most important mutant stories in history, but hasn't thought to contact the School for Mutants for their input.
I'm just saying, Empire is still the best. It's the most complex, the most sophisticated.
Here's a popular Star Wars opinion being presented as something fans were saying on their way out of having seen Return of the Jedi, which is simply not the case. Empire rose to prominence years after the original trilogy completed, and this already try-hard movie is now overdosing on try-hard.
Well, at least we can all agree the third one's always the worst.
Movie going for humor ends up with a morbid prediction. Also, this is 1983, where very few franchises actually had a planned continuous story over a whole trilogy. You can't make a definitive statement like this as if it were common in 1983 to have trilogies like this. Also, Up the Academy was released in 1980, so if this theater's still showing it in 1983 along with Return of the Jedi, it's in rough financial shape.
I mean to turn it into a real campus, university. Not just for mutants, either for humans too.
Who gives a f*** about humans? Yep, Charles has somehow been too afraid or too lazy to use Cerebro to look for his lost friend Eric all these years since Days of Future Past. That's actually supposed to be believable, but one visit from Mystique and his gripping look for Eric using Cerebro fear is released.
I'm connected to all of their minds. Where are you, Eric?
Are you connected to all mutant minds or not? These two statements, uttered within 10 seconds of each other, mind you, are entirely incongruous.
And these are all the mutants. I'm connected to all of their minds.
And I will explain this process again in this movie, because we're trying to match the number of times Bruce Wayne's parents were killed in movies.
You think because you can see into my head, you know how it feels?
Actually, I thought his power gave him more than just access to your brain, but also emotions. But I'm the least concerned about this person on the entire planet, so I'll just sin it and move on.
So I can help you. Help me?
Yes, this movie gave Eric a new tragedy in the loss of his wife and child, but still, this is the exact same argument these two have been having for all the X-Men movies.
He's not alone.
How did you not already know that? Either Cerebro totally missed the mutants standing close to Eric, or Eric somehow blocked them from his mind.
Someone's taken over Cerebro.
At this point, you're basically dealing with God. The very idea that this guy could be defeated is a fantasy.
No more weapons! No more systems!
This dialogue is starting to sound more and more like Radiohead lyrics as the movie goes along. Yes, in the event of nuclear holocaust, Stan Lee will die just like you and me.
Hey, do something!
Making Cerebro work is hard as hell in these movies, but breaking that damn near impossible for some reason.
Alex! What? Destroy Cerebro!
Even though I have zero control over anything my brain does anymore, I do have enough backup good guy power to tell you what needs to be done to save humanity. I feel like this could have been done way earlier, but, you know, plot sequencing. I'm glad he's here because Quicksilver is the best thing about the last couple of movies, but damn, this is amazing timing. First off, let me remove 3 sins before I start being an asshole about this scene. The problem for me is, I know Quicksilver is like super fast. Like our minds can't even comprehend how fast he is. But even if he's faster than the speed of light, which he's not, he's somehow able to save everybody in the mansion, going inside then outside, inside then outside. An explosion like this wouldn't take terribly long to blow the whole mansion, but we're supposed to believe he's quicker than this somehow. And I ain't buying it! I love it, but I ain't buying it. Also, you know what would be great after seeing something like this? The normal speed version on videotape or something. Did Quicksilver just kill these 2 kids? Movie blows up the X-Men mansion like it's the Starship Enterprise or something.
They look up to you.
Why? Because in the last movie she was an evil attempted assassin?
Pretty sure I got everybody.
Alex was closest to the blast.
Which I guess means he's dead then? How did Quicksilver f*** up that badly? Was it because he spent so much time slow-moing around with dogs and pizza? Because I bet it was. Anti-mutant power gun seems like an awesome weapon against mutants, so of course it's never used again in this movie. Thankfully, Stryker's Disable All Mutants weapon, which is some bullshit by the way, didn't reach far enough to affect these teenage mall-visiting slackers. Phew! I know Jean doesn't have much control over her powers, but maybe she might try to infect the minds of all these soldiers and make them just go away? Especially after this dude doesn't see them and gives the all clear. Seems like she could do something to stop this other than the plan that she comes up with later.
I can't. Once I close the doors, there's some kind of electrical field.
Some kind of electrical field prevents genetic mutants from using their powers, because electricity and genetics are so inextricably linked and such. These characters are all sad about Havoc dying, and I don't blame them. It's just that, have we really ever gotten to know that dude over 3 movies? He's basically done nothing, right? I had to look up this guy's name like 10 times during this one movie alone, character and actor. Because these X-Men movies can't seem to escape previous plot points and emotional motivations, we now return to Alkaline Lake. Oh joy. Olivia Munn poses for her action figure here, because she's given nothing else to do.
Whatever it is you think you saw in me, Charles, I buried it. with my family.
Families, Eric. Families.
That event emanated from exactly where we found you. At the home of the world's most powerful psychic. So
you're going to tell me, where is Charles
Xavier?
If the whole point was to find Charles, why did they leave all the other possible witnesses lying on the lawn outside? And why didn't they check the mansion? They just flew in, shot some sort of unconscious cannon, rounded up the few main characters, and then bounced.
What did you mean when you said someone more powerful than Charles?
Was Hank not there during the whole Cerebro event? Wait a f***ing second. The last time we saw Jean, Scott, and Nightcrawler, they were in the back of the helicopter. You know, the one where they have the special force field that keeps them from using their powers. So how in the f*** did they get out of that helicopter? Did Stryker turn the force field off when they landed? And why would he do such a stupid thing like that? During this massive worldwide telepathic message, a lot of this traffic continues to move normally. F***ing New York, man. They don't get distracted by shit. I guess no reason for a magic mutant force field in this area. What could go wrong? Also, they sure found a way to shoehorn Wolverine Weapon X into this movie, didn't they? He has nothing to do with this f***ing movie, but here he is. And is this even a teaser for a later movie? In the next movie, he's old. So I guess they're gonna skip this part of the Wolverine evolution, and this was just a big excuse to get some Wolverine action into the movie. This would-be badass Wolverine fight scene is rendered moot by this movie's pussyfooting PG-13 rating. Thank you, pussyfooters. This goes on for some time. An hour and 38 minutes into the movie, and I'm still wondering why the hell Apocalypse needs any of these assholes to complete his plan. He looks like he's doing just fine on his own. Destruction on a scale so large, it will take 7 whole days for LexCorp to fix it.
Hey guys, flight suits.
Which will all surely fit us.
Wipe clean this world.
Was there even any need for Apocalypse to tell the world he was gonna f*** everyone shit up and start his godlike rule if he was just gonna destroy the f*** out of cities like this? Really, the only reason why someone this powerful needed to send a message in a movie like this was to give Charles an excuse to send a secret message to Jean. Once again, the bad guy's main weakness is boasting?
We called ourselves the X-Men.
Reminiscing. While it kinda looks cool, I can think of no reason all-powerful god Apocalypse would need his underling Magneto to pull a centuries-old ship out of the ocean. Whatever weapon he intends to make out of this ancient metal, surely there are easier ways for him to do it, considering he's a f***ing all-powerful god and shit. Holy shit, Apocalypse had time to make statues of the Horsemen? I mean, I thought this was just a starter temple, but he's already decorating.
He's going to transfer his consciousness into the Professor. If he does that, he'll have the power to control every mind in the world.
Pretty much confirms that Apocalypse could have done this first before making Charles do it, which led to him sneaking a message to Jean, but that's an inconvenient detail these filmmakers hope you don't notice. This girl is playing young Storm, and I mostly feel sorry for her since I don't think she's spoken more than 1 or 2 lines of dialogue this entire movie. Good news, she got the role of Storm in the new X-Men movie. Bad news, you have practically no lines. Yay, it's... what's her name again? And then the job that... really, what's her name? Anyway, Aaron Rodgers' girlfriend cut the car in half, but the pieces still nearly killed Storm. So I'm guessing if you ran a simulator 20,000 times, Storm would be dead in 90% of the scenarios.
Split them up.
Olivia Munn gets the Ray Park one-line treatment, proving Bryan Singer is at least not sexist.
I know you think you've lost everything, but you haven't.
This eventually works.
You have more family than you know.
Well, that's the end of Quicksilver, because everyone who gets close to Eric dies. Sorry, kid, if I could tell you to avoid Ultron, I would. Let's talk about Apocalypse's plan, which was to wait thousands of years to be resurrected. Then recruit a team of 4 Horseman helpers that each still have issues. Then attack the entire world so that the X-Men will respawn, then kidnap Charles and hook him up to this convenient dual-slab Egyptian ceremony thing, and you know what? I'm done right here. This shit's out of control. In the name of a few pre-planned effect shots, you assholes have allowed this film's plot to veer into the territory of the insane. Should we or should we not follow the advice of the galactically stupid? This procedure that formerly required a parade, an incantation, several onlookers, and the sun to be just right in the sky now can be done in 2 minutes flat.
Be part of something much bigger than yourself.
Movie pads its already ridiculous runtime by showing flashbacks to previous movies. Jesus, movie. End! Aw, ain't that cute? She thought the guy who was buried under a rock for several millennia and has the power of God was gonna die from this.
The great hero.
Hey, remember when Apocalypse used sand to cut off those guys' heads, but never used it again in super obvious situations like this one? If she's not the real what's-her-name, then what the f*** is the real what's-her-name doing? I guess she's somewhere jerking off? This movie is super not fun. This is Charles physically beating a man in some sort of dream state. I don't know what the punches really represent, but I guess this is causing some sort of pain? I don't know, a fight between mutants with extraordinary powers devolves into a punching match, basically.
You'll need a bigger house.
Yep, Charles pretty much f***ed up the rules of Inception there. Apocalypse knew he was in a dream, and the projections took over. Rookie mistake. Magneto's definitely the type of guy who enjoys dramatic entrances, and taking all the surprise out of an attack he could have blindsided Apocalypse with. This seems kind of early for Jean Grey to suddenly burst into Phoenix, right? She was just learning her powers. Now she can full-on blow up just like that? Never caught that woman's name. Oh well.
Hold on! What did I miss?
Yeah, they had to figure out a way to keep Nightcrawler out of the last battle, because it would have been too f***ing cool for him to be in it.
Mystique told me he is your father.
She did? What an asshole.
You're X-Men.
Don't get used to this face, class, because I'll probably change into whatever the next big thing is. J-Law out. Robots in a Marvel movie? Get the f*** out of here. Another Marvel end credit scene, another mysterious case full of evil technology, and oh no, Essex? Not Essex. What the f*** is Essex? That's a sinister reveal. Sinister indeed.
But I've been going through the motions.
Make me your Aphrodite.
A gun? In here?
Who the f*** are you?
Too kind. Allow me to introduce myself. They call me Ivan Ooze.
Ben Dval Navoon.
When you try and find him, well, he won't be there.
Hello, Mystique.
Major Striker.
Striker.